Today, Misha Maslov's lifelong dream has come true, and he has found himself at the production site of Gummy Candies, his favorite sweet treat. Gummy bears and worms, jelly candies in chocolate and in icing. A lot of different aromas make you dizzy. Yes, Mr. Maslov, you will feel sweet here. I'd rather say too sweet. I'm in heaven. It's been my lifelong dream to find myself in a site like this. Having eaten 5 or 6 pounds of candies, Misha suddenly remembered that to destroy the plant stock was not his prime task. He came to a gummy candy plant to find out why they add some milk to gummy bears and which food additives are used to make these candies. Hi there. I'm eager to learn how my favorite chewy sweets are made.
No problem at all. Let's have a look. Here are your chewy sweets.
But, well, they don't look like the ones in my hands.
They sure don't. We need to add some more ingredients here.
Additives. Lokum is Gummy Candy's ancient ancestor. It was a favorite dessert of Turkish sultans in the 10th century. However, that sweet was made not only to please the Eastern rulers. Fruit boiling down to jelly was the way to keep abundant fruit crops from rotting. Apart from fruit, lokum is made of honey, starch, and rose water, or extract of rose petals. The European great-grandfather of gummy candies appeared much later in the 17th century. It was a regular jam. Pastry chefs in France managed to make it firm, and that candy was called marmalade. So, sugar, syrup, and water are the main ingredients of gummy candies. However, that paste will never turn into jelly without adding special additives. In other words, jellying agents.
So, out of this powder gummy candies are made.
And what is the difference? Well, I've noticed gelatin and pectin, correct? I'm sure there should be some difference between them.
Yeah, the structure of the finished product is different. And if we use gelatin, the result will be gummy, more rubber-like.
Just like the ones I'm keeping.
Yeah, like that one. And if we add some pectin, it will be softer and chewier. Gelatin of animal origin.
What delicious gummy cows they are. But if I were a vegetarian, I would not have them, as they add milk to those candies from real cows.
If an animal has died because we want some meat, let's not waste its death. So we need to utilize its skin, bones, and cartilage. And that way, we move to using a food additive called gelatin. When in use, when the cartilaginous tissue is used to make gelatin, gelatin is a protein-containing product.
We decided to get gelatin ourselves using a chemical lab experiment. The experiment is quite complicated and requires having fundamental knowledge and special equipment. Well, probably I have exaggerated the importance of a little. However, each of those who has experience of cooking meat jelly can feel like the head of a lab. That dish is the simplest and at the same time a visual example of getting gelatin. The basis of any meat jelly and aspics is a strong broth, which creates glutinous protein, basically collagen, due to its long boiling. Conjunctive tissues of our body consist of that stuff, and it is responsible for their strength and flexibility. Additives.
Gelatin, well, there are some legends about it. It's basically a protein-containing jelly additive made from animal conjunctive tissues. And Muslim countries import gelatin made from beef and not pork.
Поставляют желатин, который получают из говядины, а не из свинины.
Coming up next, what do gummy candies and facial beauty aids have in common? Does a vegetarian marmalade exist? What kind of research do they make in a marmalade lab? So, gelatin is made of collagen. That kind of protein performs mechanic, nourishing, and protective functions. Human skin consists of 70% of collagen, which makes it strong and flexible. Collagen degenerates in diseases with aging, which influences skin condition. To prolong the skin youth, cosmetologists use different stuff with collagen. Additives.
Cosmetologists use technological collagen, which can be used in gels, masks, and creams, and which moisturizes the skin and makes it even and smooth.
This is the case when you see the result right away. Additives. Gelatin marmalade is definitely not for vegetarians. However, for those who do not have a meal of animal origin, there is pectin. It's plant-based analog. Pectin is a polysaccharide, which is a structural unit of fruits and berries tissue. It maintains flexibility and determines the plant's abilities to withstand external influence. Apples and oranges are the fruits with the highest pectin concentration. Their juice is used for gaining an ingredient for making gummy candies. Misha Maslov decided to find out the difference between gelatin and pectin marmalade from the scientific point of view. To do that, the presenter took some chewy bears and headed to the Confectionery Industry Research Institute. Excuse me, I am looking for the Gummy Candies lab. I understand that I have entered the wrong room. Could you tell me where it is?
You have entered the right room. The Gummy Candies Research Lab is right here.
Wait a minute. Where are the piles of chewy bears and worms? Where are they? Additives.
In fact, we transfer gummy candies into the substance, into the solution. It's quite enough for us to evaluate the quality of the gummy candies.
We need to dissolve gummy candies to their molecules to find out if they meet the food standard requirements. Using an infrared spectrometer, we can determine a gummy bear's ingredients and how much water, sugar, and fruit it contains. The Institute research officer, Yegor Kazantsev, agreed to explain the difference between different kinds of gummy candies. To do that, we need to make pectin marmalade as the gelatin ones Misha has brought with him.
We need to make pectin, a sugar solution, as pectin itself does not dissolve well.
Okay.
And as you notice, it dissolves well with sugar. Also, we need gummy candies, as gummy candies is with saccharin.
The ingredients should be mixed up and heated. Pectin resolves at the boiling temperature. After that, we will add some sugar. Gummy candies contain 60% of it. We also need to add some syrup to make it completely dissolved and to make the gummy candies structurally even. Can I taste it?
Yes, of course, but it's heated up.
Oh.
Heated? Yes. We need to add some citric acid. That's our finishing touch. By the way, can you try it yourself? Here it is.
This one?
Yes, come on, Mikhail.
Okay.
Pour it down.
Right, everything down.
From left to right. We have made jelly, and that makes a molecular net inside. Mikhail, let's wait for a while. Let's wait for it to cool down. The structure will be formed well, and I guess in 5 minutes you will be able to taste our gummy candies.
5 minutes, not more. I'm starving. Additives. The gummy candy has solidified, and we can start the experiment. Misha Maslov wants to find out the difference between his gelatin chewy bear and the one made of pectin, which Yegor Kazantsev and he have just made in the lab.
Right now, we're going to analyze the strength of the gummy candies that we have just made and the one you brought here.
How will you do it? Will you tie its paws and stretch it out?
No, we simply need to put it in the stock and gradually increase the pressure. To do that, we will use a cup and some pellets.
The gummy reminds us of a gummy candy execution. You need to keep on pouring pellets into the cup as long as the stalk reaches the surface. However, we were unable to do that with the Chewy Bear. It showed fantastic strength. However, it was not the point in the case of the pectin gummy candy.
Of course, our gummy candy was not made of gelatin, and its strength is going to be lower. Have a look.
Yes, that's it.
End of story, indeed. Touchdown.
Coming up next, do they add some milk to gummy candies? Which substance is not only in jelly sweets, but in our body as well? How were tropical insects used as gummy candies ingredients? Additives. We come back to the candy factory. Misha Maslov has found out which ingredients are required for his favorite treat. But why isn't milk among them? Misha Maslov milked a cow this morning for that case. The senior manufacturing engineer explained that they don't add milk but lactic acid.
Acid works differently with different things. I mean, in some cases we add it to enrich the taste, whereas in other cases it has a functional meaning. Gelling will only occur after adding the acid. And it happens with things containing pectin, for example.
Some people believe that lactic acid can be found in any dairy products, in milk, for example. There is no lactic acid in milk. The point is that this stuff can be classified as organic oxoacid, which is generated during glucose fermentation. It means that the lactic acid can be found in boiled fermented milk, yogurt, and other kinds of fermented dairy products, and in our body as well. Our chemical expert will share more detailed information about it. Additives.
You're probably familiar with your muscles aching after a workout. It means that it's lactic acid in your muscles, which is generated because of glycolysis. Glycolysis means glucose breakdown. And due to that process of the glucose breakdown, the lactic acid in your muscles let us know about its presence there.
Alexander is going to make an experiment to prove the presence of lactic acid in a human body. First, we need to make an Uffelman's test. It is named after the famous chemist Uffelman. The test proves that the transparent solution is the lactic acid indeed. To do that, we need to mix the test tube content with phenol and 3-ferrous chloride. If the chemical reaction results in a yellow and green solution in the test tube, it means that lactic acid was among the regions. Additives.
That's the way to find out if we deal with the lactic acid or not. In the same way, we can find out if foodstuff or any other substances in a human body contain lactic acid. Right now, we're going to run an experiment. There's some saliva, some usual human saliva. The stuff we received after the reaction is of a slightly different color. If we compare it with the stuff in the previous one, the reason is that the first reaction was made with pure lactic acid. Here we are with the lactic acid contained in the saliva. Its concentration was far lower as there are a lot of different substances in the saliva. Hello, we've reached the desired results, which proves that the saliva contains lactic acid indeed.
Additives. Misha Maslov keeps on monitoring the gummy candies production process at the candy plant. So, sugar, water, jellying agent, and lactic acid are poured and boiled in huge tanks. While sweet syrup is boiling, some extra liquid is being evaporated. To determine if our liquid gummy candies are ready to be stamped, we need to use such a serious device. It is called a refractometer. Too many letters are, by the way. It works like this. We shall take some liquid gummy candies. Place them on the object plate and have a look through its ocular. We can see a scale inside which indicates the amount of the dry matter. In other words, the amount of liquid which has been evaporated during the boil. It is very much the same as a spinner. Okay, what shall I choose? Here are hippos, lemons, scorpions, elephants, you name it. I prefer the classic though and pick worms. Okay, we are carrying the mold to install. Bears are being stamped right now, but I don't like them at all. I have my own mold and it should be installed right away. Could you help me?
I sure could.
Well, and what shall I do?
Okay, we'll open the shutter.
Okay, we do it.
Then pull down that shaft and take the bear printing board away.
Take it away.
Take it away and put it on the floor.
Okay, they are bears.
There are bears and now we have worms. Let's take it, turn it over, and insert it like this.
What is your favorite printing board?
My favorite printing board? They're the same to me.
Do you like them all?
Yes.
Well, okay.
Good candy do matter for me.
I like the worms the most.
Yes, worms.
So, we will stamp worms right now.
Sure.
Finally, it's time to turn liquid gummy candies into worms. The warm mixture is automatically dispersed with a depositor into holes in starch. Such an incubator can produce 2,000 chewy invertebrates per minute and 10 tons per shift. By the way, have you ever thought, why worms? Probably gummy candies made of worms rather than worms made of gummy candies, huh? To make worms of different colors out of homogeneous sweet bases, we need to add some flavoring and coloring agents. Banana and cherry food additives are usually made of fruit extracts. The flavor palette is quite diverse and includes about 50 of them. As for flavoring agents, the ones made of the original origin matter, but in some cases their origin is quite exotic.
We use different coloring agents, I mean the natural ones, but the raw materials are different and can be of both vegetable and animal origin. In some cases, they can be made of insects that live on cactuses.
Additives. The insects dwelling on cacti are called cochineal scale insects. They dwell in South America, and yes, they are used as a coloring agent for food. Well, what can I say? But there is no doubt that it is a natural additive. Those exotic insects contain carminic acid, which is bright red. They are very small, no longer than 0.16 inches. 150 insects are required to make 2.2 pounds of the coloring agent. Due to high labor and prime cost, E120 coloring agent is the most expensive food additive of its class. Additives.
Doctors check everything and are very strict in terms of food safety. If it were somehow harmful to humans, it simply wouldn't be approved. Nothing is left of the worms after the processing.
Due to the South American scale insects, the gummy candy insects get their color. The multicolored liquid is poured into holes squeezed out by a stamping machine in the starch basis. That powder keeps its shape well and absorbs extra moisture as well. Coming up next, when does marmalade become real gummy candy? Why are chewy bears covered with shellac? Does that ingredient have something in common with nail lacquer? The newly born worms are too liquid to have a bite. So, we bring them here to the refrigerating room to make them jelly well. They will be left here for the entire day. It's quite cool in here. It's 64 degrees Fahrenheit. That temperature is maintained on that level to make the worms solidified. But at first, I need to find the right corridor. Okay, here are the bees. Here are the bears. Okay, here we are with the worms. Okay, worms. And now it's time to have a different bite. When gummy candies get solidified, they are placed into a special sieve to be cleaned from the starch. After that, the gummy candies come through the final stage of their production process. Meanwhile, Misha Maslov is already there and is doing well indeed. Glazing is the final stage of Gummy Candies production. Everything happens here, in the rolling chamber, where a small amount of carnauba wax, a glazing agent, is added. It is mixed with our worms. They are evenly mixed and constantly rub each other, which actually makes them smooth, shiny, and really cute. Additives.
Carnauba wax is made of plants which don't grow here in our climate zone. As a rule, they are made of special palm leaves, and it can be found in food encyclopedias and are legal to use, though we do it very rarely. The same is true of shellac.
Shellac as a glazing agent is basically used abroad. This food additive is classified as E904. Here in Russia, it is basically known as nail lacquer. Does that mean it is the same stuff?
Shellac lasts for a long time and keeps its shine well too. It can last for up to 2, sometimes 3 weeks. Nail polish, though, usually smells, whereas shellac doesn't smell at all.
However, the nail lacquer and the food additive have nothing in common but the name. The cosmetic agent is made synthetically, and the jellying agent is made of a natural material. Believe it or not, but we are coming back to the insects. Shellac, which is used for candies and gobe painting, is a natural resin which is produced by the insects dwelling in India. They live on tree juice during their reproduction cycle. Afterwards, they emit resinous stuff of amber color which is necessary for their eggs' incubation. Well, our program has turned into an entomologist's guidebook, which I always keep at hand. So, the resinous stuff which the insects emit during their reproductive cycle is the very shellac. It is scraped off trees, cleaned, and then is used for covering candies. I believe it is all quite a delicious story. Additives.
Well, shellac is a metabolic byproduct of insects. But if we speak about insects' byproducts, let's give up having honey or wax. Honey wax, for example, which some people like to chew, or let's say the honeycomb in general. The honeycomb is made by bees. Well, it's kind of an agreement. It is known that we have this stuff as a meal, but turn a blind eye to it and how it's made, in fact.
Misha's sweet day is almost over. Today, our presenter is not only full of gummy bears and worms, but has learned a lot of many interesting things about his favorite candies. Some of the facts were not delicious, but they will not spoil his appetite, that's for sure. The Sweet Factory produces 20 tons of gummy bears per shift. But it looks like they're going to be a little short of this number today.